I'm Claudia Friedlander. I'm a voice teacher and also a fitness trainer. Today we're going to be talking about singing in high heels, which is a topic that draws on my expertise in both of these areas. Be sure to visit the comments below for some additional resources. Singers and voice teachers often express concerns about whether heels can pose problems for a singing technique. In this video, I'm going to take a look at how wearing high heels can impact our biomechanics, how that might affect our singing, and also discuss some solutions for whatever problems they may create. Wearing heels puts our ankles in a sustained state of plantar flexion. That means that rather than there being more or less a 90-degree angle between the foot and the lower leg, the way that the orientation is without heels, the angle between the foot and the lower leg is going to be more extreme. The higher the heel, the more extreme that angle. As a result, when you're wearing high heels, your calf muscles are continually engaged. Their antagonists, the tibialis muscles, are underactive, and all the other joints of the lower body and maybe even some of the upper body will have to compensate for the extremity of this angle. Your knees might lock back, your lower back may arch, you may have to lean your torso back to avoid falling over, as well as put your head or shoulders forward to maintain balance. However, keep in mind that there are things besides heeled shoes that can cause us to engage in prolonged plantar flexion. Anything we do on a downward incline, from hiking downhill to performing on a raked stage, will have an impact similar to wearing high heels. And by the way, ballet dancers spend a great deal of their time on stage with their ankles in extreme plantar flexion. If you think about it though, you'll see that lots of things that we do just in the course of daily living can create imbalances in our musculature that impact our posture. If you sit for prolonged periods of time, that can lead to very tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings, and weakened glutes. Your butt muscles are just kind of sitting there inactive. And all of the things that conspire to hold us stable in that position are going to create some of the same imbalances that people are concerned about where the high heels are concerned. If you've got tight hip flexors, hamstrings, and weak glutes, that's going to lead to the same kind of arch to the lower back, having the knees lock back, and some of the upper body compensations where the shoulders and head might come forward. Fortunately, there's a solution. If you stretch your hip flexors and you stretch your hamstrings and you do some things to strengthen your butt muscles, that's going to counteract any ill effects that you might experience if you have to be sedentary for any period of time. Where wearing high heels is concerned, there is also a solution. Prolonged plantar flexion leads to tight calves and weak tibialis muscles. So if you want to wear high heels and stay comfortable, it's important that you stretch your calf muscles and strengthen your tibialis muscles. Here are some exercises that will help. First, perform some self-myofascial release for your calf muscles. Self-myofascial release is just a fancy way of saying you're going to give the connective tissue in the muscle a massage before you try to go and stretch it. Here I'm using a massage stick. You can apply it behind the knee and then apply some pressure and roll it between the knee and the ankle, back and forth. And if you find that there's an area that feels particularly tight or tender, just roll over that a few extra times. You can also do this with a foam roller. Next, perform some static stretches for your calf muscles. There are two important muscles in the calf, and so I'm going to give you a different stretch for each one. The position is pretty similar. Here is the stretch for the gastrocnemius. You'll notice that my back leg is straight. I'm keeping the knee straight while I'm doing this. And it's very important in this position that you keep the toe of the back foot pointing forward. The toe is probably going to want to move out to the side if your calves are tight. So keeping your toe pointing straight forward will ensure that you get a really good stretch for this muscle. Even if you can't go very far, just lean forward to the extent that you feel a stretch, and then hold that position for about 30 seconds or so that you give the muscle fibers an opportunity to release. Then, leaving your heel on the floor, bend the back knee slightly. It's going to be kind of a subtle movement. If you can't bend the knee in this position, then just shift your foot a little closer to the wall, and then hold that stretch for another 30 seconds. This stretches for the soleus, the other important muscle of your calf. Finally, it's important to strengthen the tibialis muscles. Here's an exercise called ankle inversion. Sit with your legs straight and make sure that your knee is pointing straight up at the ceiling the whole time. I've attached a TheraBand to a fixed point that is off to the side and then looped it around my toe, and then I can pull against it and point my toe internally while keeping the knee pointing straight up. Again, you want to make sure that you're moving from the ankle and not from the hip. And so just do a few repetitions of this, maybe 8 to 12 on each side, to just activate the tibialis muscle. This isn't a muscle that you need to really pump up. For most of us, it's relatively inactive. So just doing some exercises like this to get it to engage will immediately get you some more support so that your calf muscles don't get quite so tight. As I mentioned, the sustained plantar flexion that high heels can encourage, it can cause some problems up the kinetic chain. In other words, affecting not just the ankle and the calves and the tibialis muscles, but also things around your knee, around your hip, possibly your lower back. So it's a good idea to engage in a fitness routine that's going to make sure to compensate for any of these other issues that can come up. In the comments, I've attached a link to an article that I wrote for Classical Singer magazine on the topic, and that includes a range of exercises for these other components of your anatomy that might be affected by wearing high heels. Check it out. So what should we as singers do with all of this information? Well, as a fitness trainer, here's my advice. If you don't like wearing heels and they make you uncomfortable, don't wear heels. You can express your personal style beautifully wearing flats to auditions and formal events. And as long as you're being yourself and you feel good, I really don't think anybody's going to judge you for wearing the shoes that you like to wear. And if they do, they're probably the ones who should be rethinking their priorities. But if you do like wearing heels, then go ahead and wear them. Just make sure that you keep your leg muscles in balance. And also avoid wearing heels that are going to be so high that they make you uncomfortable or negatively impact your gait. Then, when you're on a production, just make sure that you collaborate and communicate well with the costume staff to make sure that the shoes that you wear for production are going to support rather than interfere with your singing. Finally, I just want to remind you that we are athletes. Singing is a whole body endeavor. It requires balance, strength, and flexibility, as well as outstanding coordination. I feel like we just take it for a given that, okay, so the alignment that we have in the studio or in the practice room, that's the good alignment, and we can take that as a given, and then we need to make sure that there isn't some kind of variable that's going to creep in and throw off our alignment, like high heels. But athletes don't take alignment as a given. They know that alignment is something that has to be continually supported and conditioned. And they know that if their whole body is in great shape, then some variable like wearing heels is probably not going to have that big an impact on the way that their biomechanics function. This is why you're probably not going to hear athletes or coaches wondering about whether it's okay to wear high heels or not. Here is the extraordinary tennis player Serena Williams flaunting an outrageous pair of platform heels. You better believe this is a woman who is never going to do anything to jeopardize the health of her feet or her legs. She can walk in these heels because she knows that she has the balance, strength, and flexibility to pull it off without it making her uncomfortable. So if you love wearing heels, take a page from Serena's book. Just make sure to keep yourself in good enough shape that you can walk in heels very comfortably and elegantly without them causing any risk to your singing.
Winkt es hervor mit weißer Hand, da singt und da fliegt es von einem Zauberland, wo bunte